want to start by saying thank you so much for taking the time out to sit down and chat with me. I suppose we should start right at the beginning. How did your sort of love of performing begin?
My love of performing.
Hmm.
Oh gosh. I mean, I was kind of a theater kid when I was growing up. When I was kind of like between like 10 and 13, my family did this thing called Odyssey of the Mind. It was a creative problem solving competition. And I just went like when I was in school, I'd go to drama camps for holiday and just and my dad never paid me enough attention. So I got my attention elsewhere.
And so, how did that sort of transform into like sort of creating theatre then? When did that change happen?
Um, I mean, when I was about in my 22 odd, my friend had a cabaret housewarming party, and I went and I did it, and I loved it. And then a friend of mine, after that house party, she started doing a cabaret night, and she
Hmm.
invited me to MC. And then I just started MCing this cabaret night, and 20 years later, I'm still doing circus.
So, how did the sort of the circus stuff start? How did you get introduced to that?
So I was at film school,
Hmm.
and there was a friend of mine was doing. Sorry, it's a bit noisy. I'm out in
It's all
Edinburgh.
right.
I just um sorry. So a friend of mine was doing. Have you seen The Labyrinth with David Bowie? You know, the
Yes, yeah.
crystal ball multi-juggling. So she was doing that outside of a building, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool.
Hmm.
And she invited me along to a juggling club, and I just found my people. I just really clicked with them.
Hmm. And sort of from then circus skills into sort of magic, how did that
Mm.
sort of start? Where did that come from?
So I was pretty unwell with my complex regional pain syndrome,
Hmm.
and um, juggling is something your roommate in college does. Magic is breaking reality in front of your face, and it tends to pay a bit better. So I, it was kind of, it's just kind of a half, a sideways skip, really.
Hmm.
You know, it's six and a half a dozen of the other. The the thing with magic is that it's so like inherently confrontational because
Hmm.
you're like, I'm going to make everything that you think is real is not real, and I'm going to pick a fight with you about it, you know? Um, and it's the real skill I think is in being like being genuinely engaged with your audience and like, come on, we're having fun. It's going to be great. Oh, this thing I'm doing with my hands, you don't want to know about that. We're just having fun over here. But you can often lean into this like, I know something you don't and I'm smarter, and then that puts the audiences off.
Hmm. So did that sort of your sort of theatre background to give you an advantage, sort of the
Yeah,
theatrical
yeah,
showmanship of
definitely.
magic?
Like the years that I was a ghost tour guide for three
Wow.
years. So it's a 90-minute one-man show, three times a night, 5 nights a week.
Wow.
And that really gave me a pretty strong ability to read a crowd and like gauge where they are, when they need pepped up, when they need calmed down. And that, yeah, that definitely
Hmm.
helped with that jump into magic.
And sort of talking about that crossover, you've used your sort of magic abilities and your theatre to create the unluckiest magician. So where did that come from? How
Mm.
did that come to be?
The Unluckiest Magician.
Hmm.
Um, it's it's the story of all of my 8 surgeries, 14 screws, 3 plates, and one reconstructed digestive system. And every time I tell my whole long story to people, everyone is like, wow, that is,
Hmm.
it's a wild story. And it's my, it's me. It's like this particular show, like this is my third full length show.
Hmm.
And the first two were just kind of like doing magic tricks, you know? But this one is my story, my lessons, my viewpoint, and it's kind of just what I want to say about it all.
Hmm. And so is there still have you still got those tricks and things scattered throughout?
Yeah.
What-
The tricks are kind of mixed in. So
Hmm.
I learned magic in the hospital because I didn't have anything to do in my
Oh, wow.
pajamas. So I do the whole show in my pajamas. Um, and like I do a rope trick, and the ropes are an allegory for my intestines, and then they're like doing different things, and then
Hmm.
the rope, and then my intestines burst, and then the ropes split into two, and
Yeah.
I tried really hard to make sure that all of the tricks were motivated by the story.
Hmm.
So like there's a mind reading trick, and the whole motivation of I've had so many people come in to see me in hospital, and I know what they're going to say before they say it. I can read it on their face. So
Ah.
instead of it just being like, and now I'm going to read your mind, it's like there's a reason for this happening, you know?
And so obviously having to go through that and then putting a stage production on, what was it like sort of coming back to those experiences and putting them on a stage?
Um, it's definitely made me a bit more reflective,
Mm.
like the last week of doing the show over and over and over again. Um, there's it's I think I've processed most of the trauma around it, so it hasn't been too difficult.
Yeah.
And the reactions that I get from people have been really good. So it often, when I tell this story in a non-show setting, you know,
Mm.
you'll be having dinner or something and you tell them everything and you see this like look of horror that's like, oh my God. And it's like they want to be nice, but it's just so
Mm.
shocking and horrible, all the horrible things that have happened to me. So to be able to tell my story in this kind of setting with the nice moral at the end, and everyone leaves feeling good, and
Mm.
I still get to talk about myself without making people feel nauseous.
Mm. So talking about obviously people seeing the show, has your run on the Fringe started or is it coming up?
Yeah, I'm 6 shows deep. So
Oh,
I'm doing 13 shows, and then I have a week off, and then 6 shows.
mm.
So if I did the whole thing, I would die.
So what was it like? Was it always the plan to take to the Fringe, or was that something that just came to be?
It was a big. So I toured it around the New Zealand Fringe circuit
Mhm.
for 2 years. I did kind of like a beta version that wasn't very good, and then another version that was a bit better. Um, Coming to Edinburgh Fringe was a big. We did a lot of backing and forthing on whether or not we should come, whether it was a good idea, how much money it costs.
Mhm.
I I wanted to come and see if I don't suck as much as I think I don't suck.
And so, what is it like, sort of preparing to go to the Fringe? What has that sort of getting ready process like been like?
Stressful. There's so many other things around it. Like, you know, you've got to book your advertising, you have to design the flyer, you have to do your marketing. It's like it's 7 jobs rolled into one. Like you perform for an hour, but for every hour that you're on stage, you spend like 8
Mm.
doing random bullshit, you know?
And obviously, you said about the sort of feedback. What has the feedback been like so far? What have the audiences loved about your show?
Um, just really lovely. I've had a couple of people who have had chronic conditions as well, saying that it was like really inspiring and it's nice to see some representation of it all.
Mm.
Um, and like I can see the audience like nodding along when I'm making certain points and stuff. And it's been a bit of a shift because it's like doing the story. I'm rambling a little bit, but
No,
like
okay.
doing the show.
Mhm.
Um, I'm so because I a lot of times I perform in comedy clubs,
Mhm.
and so I'm cued for I'm trying to get laughs, but there are laughs in the show, but it's not the entire point.
Yeah.
And it's been a shift, like getting used to the thing where like they are paying attention, they are having fun, they are engaged, they're just not bursting out with laughter, you know?
Mm. Yeah. And how is so obviously perform in the moment of performance,
Hmm.
is there points where you kind of expect a laugh or kind of get nervous that they're not outwardly laughing because they're so engaged?
Um, and you can kind of read, you
Mm.
know, like there's nights when you're like, okay, they're not a loud audience,
Yeah.
or they're not, or they're a bit, you know, they're a bit, but you can kind of, you know, bring them up, bring them out, bring the energy bit. There's kind of, you know, like tricks and little things that you can do
Mm.
to do it all. But yeah, it's weird not having it. Definitely took a while to get around the not laughing thing. I'm like, oh no, they're amazed and interested.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's equally good.
Oh, so where can people sort of stay up to date with the show and get tickets if they're in the Fringe in Edinburgh?
Edfringe.com.
Mhm.
That's where all the sites are. You can get them from the Fringe box office. I am in the Sea Arts Alto, so that's the Quaker Meeting House on
Mhm.
Victoria Terrace, and it's at 9:30 every night.
And so where can people stay up to date with you then and everything that happens moving forward as well?
So my socials are Steve Wilbury Entertainer, with an at in front of it on all of the things on
Hmm.
Meta and mostly Meta. I don't do Twitter or anything.
Hmm. And so we are coming to my final question, but as what advice would you have for sort of new creatives or performers looking to get into the industry?
Make your own industry.
Hmm.
There are no grown-ups. There is no magical fairyland where there is enough money and everything's fine. You just do it, find your crew, and then keep doing it. Like the people who find success are the ones who keep coming back and it's like written in their bones, you
Hmm.
know? Like I've come back to Edinburgh after, 15 years away, but because of the connections that I made 15 years ago, I'm able to go to my friend and say, "Hey, I want to miss a family event. Can I be busy tonight?" And then, pick up a gig for a Kelburn garden party, for example. But just find your crew and just do it. Don't there's nobody's gonna hand you a ticket to
Hmm.
the to success, you just have to do it. Like when I still live in New Zealand,
Yeah.
but the town that I was in, there was no comedy club. So I started a night,
Hmm.
and if you want to do something fun and interesting, do it. And this is a moral from the show is that whatever you're scared of, it is no worse than the random cruelties that life can hand you.
Hmm.
You could get hit by a bus, you could get a gangrenous gallbladder. So just fucking do it, man. Just go have fun and have fun. Yeah.
That's amazing. So I'll end the same way I started, just by saying thank you so much for taking the time out. Like you said, you
No,
are
thank you for
extremely
having me, Rhys.
busy with all the stuff going on at the moment. So it genuinely does mean a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Awesome. It's been a great time talking to you.
And I will put all the links in the description below so people can scroll down, click away, and stay up to date with you. But yeah,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Cool.
And I'll speak to you soon.
Thanks a lot, Rhys.